Hello everyone, this is your host Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Daily Stock, in which we are going to consider a very interesting company, American Express. This is the card provider of choice for the people who make a lot of money and who spend a lot of money and also who pay back their money on time most of the time. Of course, some defaults are some unforeseen circumstances which might force the card customer to not pay on time. That can always happen, but here these card provider, the American Express, has one of the best consumer class who are there for spending, for taking advantage of the credit, and that is the factor which makes the American Express a company in this space to watch out for. Its valuations have been rising, and if you consider its stock price performance over the quarters, over the years, it has been of steady growth and more so in near term, where its valuations have jumped a lot in last few quarters, and the reason is of course rising revenues, rising profit, which is fueling this surge in its valuations. This is the website, and I'm quite sure that many of the viewers might be, even consumers, might be card users of the Amex, which is the short form for American Express. We now consider its recent quarterly report. This is the first quarter of fiscal year 2024 quarterly report. It has seen its revenues rise around 5 percentage point year over year. This is the consolidated statement of income for the quarter ended March 31st, and in it, this growth is clearly visible. And more interesting thing is its growth in the bottom line. This net income rise from US dollar 1.8 billion to US dollar 2.4 billion represents the growth of more than 30 percentage point. And now you can wonder where these high double-digit growth is coming from if the revenues have risen only 5 percentage point. The simplest answer is going to be the rising efficiency of the operations of the Amex and some structural changes which might enable the company to maintain these operating margin and continue to deliver this kind of net income, net profit in coming quarters as well. So that is one interesting development which is catching the investors by a positive momentum. A lot of investors are getting excited about this development, and resultantly, the valuation is inching higher and higher. If we look at the breakdown of these spend its expenses, you will get a clearer idea of where the money is being spent, what is the cost of business, and accordingly you can draw a pretty clearer picture of these companies business management, the operations management, and make a informed decision whether to invest, whether to sit on the sidelines, or whether to short it at the current valuations. This is for total revenues. This column, we have the revenues from different segments, and if we consider this total revenue, it is showing at US dollar 14.53 billion, which is quite a substantial growth, almost around 10 percentage point growth from the prior figure of US dollar 13.22 billion. And on back of that, we have this growth of 30 percentage point happening in the bottom line as the expenses have more or less remained on similar footing. Of course, there has been rise in expenses on back of newer customer acquisitions, but the rise in expenses is more than enough to the rise in expenses has been compensated by rise in revenue, and that is generating this surplus of the profit, which is reflecting in this net income figure. Now pointing to the balance sheet, we can say that the company's finances are in sound shape, and it has a cash pile which is going to be envy of many companies around the world. It has this cash and cash equivalent at US dollar 54.2 billion. And with that kind of cash, you have some serious muscles in the business. You can deploy this cash wherever you feel the opportunity is there to be exploited, and then generate handsome returns on it. So there is a serious asset which the company has at its disposal, and of course it is taking advantage of that, as you can see from the growth in the cash and cash equivalents by more than $6 billion in the span of just 3 months, that is in the last quarter ending March 31st 2024. The balance sheet is on the strong footing, and I feel that this balance sheet is going to get better and better in the coming quarter as the company is projecting its revenues to rise, and the operating margin is more or less likely to sustain at the current level. So if it simply sustains the operating margin and delivers growth on the revenue front, that is going to result in its net profit rising much more than its revenues, because the fixed cost is going to be more or less the same, but its variable cost is going to rise, but that is in whole going to make it a more leaner and meaner company as the fixed cost remains the same. The rise in revenues will be reflecting in much stronger growth in the net profit terms. So that is going to be a key positive for the valuations of the American Express. If we consider its cash inflows and outflows on account of operations, investing, and financing, you will see that there has been this increase of more than US dollar 7.6 billion, and its cash and cash equivalent figure at the end of the period stood at US dollar 54.2 billion from US dollar 46.59 billion at the beginning of the period. Now, from this, what you can infer is that the company's operations have been generating some serious cash. The cash provided by the operating activities stood at US dollar 5.55 billion, which is a turnaround of sort in terms of the cash from the operations, because last time around there was account payables and other liabilities which had taken away the bulk of cash, and resultantly there was this decline, that is outflow of US dollar 377 million. But now the operations have turned cash positive and generating this 5.55 billion. Coming to the investing activity, the cash outflow on account of investment activity is on the higher side because there has been increase in loans and card member receivables. So that is being reflected in the growth of the cash used in investing activity. Then comes the final and the third important classification, financing activity. In the financing activity, there was less cash generation, but still overall the growth in the cash and cash equivalents has come at a stronger pace this time around in comparison to the rise in cash and cash equivalents a year back. So all these financial statements are pointing to a corporation, to a company which is on a solid footing. Here it has a clearly defined growth path and it is trading quite well. So that is the reason why many of the investors and traders are willing to bet higher and higher and acquire its shares even on these valuations which have risen sharply over last few quarters and not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon. So it will be interesting to see how things evolve. But as the things stand, the only thing you can do is keep looking for the opportunity to buy, to go and buy, go long, and of course that entails avoiding any kind of short selling at the current juncture simply from the point of view of prudence, if not anything more. Now we turn our gaze to the technical side of the story. For that, now we head to the JForex 4, the trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the American Express share price charting with each candle period defined at hourly. If you consider its trajectory in the month of May, you will see that its valuations have risen from around 230 to around 243 to 44. That's the growth of 5 percentage point, which is there to see just in the span of 10 to 15 days. So in the half month gone, it has already shown remarkable growth. And then if we expand the time horizon by changing the candle spread to daily, you get the view of its share price trajectory from the beginning of the year to year to date. And there you can see it has risen around 30-35%. So that's a remarkable growth to be achieved in the short span of 4 months. And in these spree, in this bullish phase, I think the only way to profit is going to be adopting a buy on dips approach. Of course, that entails taking a close look and keeping a keen eye on the share price trajectory of the American Express. You are not going to get the opportunity so easily. You will have to keep tracking it day in, day out to see how things are evolving, how its price action is unfolding. And then I think if you find that the risk reward ratio is favorable, you can take your chances and go and buy it whenever you see there is some correction and it is holding well on the lower levels. So if your time horizon is for just a couple of days, I feel even in this short-term horizon, we can indeed profit from this upward trajectory. So the simplest thing to keep in mind is going to be the formation which needs to be of higher high and higher low. And as long as that holds, we can keep looking for opportunity to buy, provided the risk reward ratio is also favorable. So at the current juncture, given the fact that it is sitting at the very top of its valuation, we will have to pay attention to the consolidation phase low. The prior swing low stands around 230. So that is going to be the price level we will be paying attention to, and as long as its price doesn't really dip below that in near term, we can be fairly confident of the continuation of this bullish rally in the American Express. So over the next few days, if there is correction and it doesn't really decline below 230, then I feel we can indeed take chances and try to go for the long trade, depending on how things are evolving after due consolidation. If it starts to show the bullish spurt, we can go and initiate the new long trade. Same thing holds for the medium term as well, where we have to, I think, wait a while now, because given the fact that it is already sitting on the top, it is not going to be a easier thing to find newer opportunity. We will have to wait till it corrects somewhat from the current valuations, and then of course it needs to consolidate for at least a week or two, and then we can make our mind whether to go for the newer long trade or to simply sit on the sideline. So in that context, it will be interesting for us to wait and then see how things evolve. And if we get a good risk reward ratio, we can indeed take the chances and go for the new long trade in the American Express stock. Now, expanding our time horizon further to the long term, we are using the week as the candle period time now, and in it you can see that since the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2023 to now in the second quarter of 2024, we have seen sharp rise in the valuations of the American Express. It has rallied from sub 150 levels to now sit fairly close to pretty close to 250. So you can even call it a run from 150 to 250. I'm being approximate here, not precise numbers. And if you have witnessed a strong rally like that, of course, you want to be cautious. You can't really go for a short sale trade at the very top level, but even if you simply want to go long, you do have to pay attention to the possibility of extended consolidation on these higher levels, and if it happens, then also you might end up losing money. So it is very important to not get carried away by these strong bullish run and maybe wait it out, wait it for it to correct and then consolidate, which might take couple of weeks to couple of months for the clarity to emerge, and then in course of time, as and when the risk reward ratio is favorable, we can indeed go for the newer long trade. So that's my view. Depending on your time horizon, you can take a outlook, you can take these outlooks in consideration and then decide to trade accordingly. So on all the three different time horizons, from short term to medium term to long term, the outlook remains bullish. The only thing which we need to pay attention to, the two is the formation, which needs to maintain the price formation high high and higher low, and if it does that, then I think we are pretty much in the fray to profit from this continuity in the bull run in coming days, coming weeks, coming months, depending on the time horizon you are counting on. So that's it from my side for today's session. If any of you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me the feedback and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Thank you all for joining in. Have a fabulous day ahead. See you next time around. Till then,